Hey everyone, welcome to episode 105 of the Ceres podcast. I'm your host Stelios and the founder and director of Ceres Pure Food Innovation. I don't really have any Ceres online store updates. I think we've covered it in the other ones. So, just go online, worldofceres.com/shop, order whatever you need. Everything's in stock and everything's being dispatched efficiently. As you may have noticed, we've started slotting in these adverts at the beginning of the podcast. We will never insert ads in the middle to break up the conversation, so we hope that's cool with you. Gives us a chance to highlight what we do, but also what others do. And they support us, so we want to support them. Bit of a halo effect and so on. Peas are a British staple. Let's face it, it should be against the law not to serve fish and chips without mushy peas. There is nothing worse, in my view, than tasteless mushy peas that have no taste and no texture. It's just wrong. I truly believe that making mushy peas from scratch will not only increase profit, but they will also sell better than a pre-made mushy pea. Mushy peas taste and feel superior when they're cooked freshly, as fresh as possible. On our quest to create consistency, we created the mushy pea seasoning. Use marifat peas of your choice, wash and soak as normal. Then you add the Ceres mushy pea seasoning and cook just until they're ready. Off you go. Why waste your time adding all the different ingredients? Consistently great homemade mushy peas will increase sales, and that's a fact. Get your Ceres mushy pea seasoning today at worldofceres.com. Are you fed up of managing complexity of staff rotas, increased wages costs? Are you worried about not keeping up with HR? Do you feel exposed somewhat? I know firsthand how hard it is managing staff and how stressful it is doing the rotas and managing HR. Have I kept all my paperwork in place? The P45s, this da-da-da-da-da. There's always something. And if you aren't filing it properly, you haven't got it. And, if you have to go ruffling around under your desk and trying to find the paperwork, you're really leaving yourself well exposed. Well, now you don't have to struggle no more. Bizimply is the all-in-one operations, HR, rota, and workforce management software, designed and run by hospitality experts to make every shift run like clockwork. Bizimply offers you a drag-and-drop solution, no more stressing and pulling your hair out. There is a time station app to prevent time theft and buddy punching. The MyZimply app gives you live time and attendance, but also tells your colleagues what shifts they've got and what roles they're on that day. Bizimply has so many key features, it's hard to say what's best. My favourite is the fact that it links with accounting software. I know my friend's favourite is the fact that he can put all his training goals and monitor every time a staff member's done something, for the training. And it makes, just end of year assessments just really easy. So, don't mess around no more, stressing yourself out. Visit bizimply.com and book yourself a free demo. Today's guest is Bruce Rennie. Born in Fife to a Scottish father and a Belgian mother, Bruce Rennie considered a career in architecture or music technology. Like many penniless students before him, he applied to work in a kitchen, and he soon discovered that not all restaurants were created equal, so he poured himself into Le Dennis, Rhodes and Marco Pierre White books, and he decided to pursue a higher career, a higher standard of cooking, let's say. Since then, he's worked at the Balmoral Hotel, Gary Rhodes Restaurant, Shanks and Martin Wishart. He moved to Cornwall about 10 years ago, where he ran the St Ives Gastropub, the Gurnard's Head, for 4.5 years, followed by a short spat at Rick Stein's. Finally, in 2015, he opened his own restaurant, The Shore, in Penzance. I really enjoyed chatting to Bruce. We've followed each other for some time on social media. He's an avid listener of the podcast, and I love what he does, to be fair. He really loves what he does, you can tell. He's how do you explain it? He just loves, you can tell, just loves it. And, it's a pleasure to follow him on social media because he's just so passionate about what he does. I really enjoyed looking at his YouTube channel as well. Although it's really in the early days, now's a good time to get on it because, they're just really easy to watch. So I really hope you enjoy this episode with Bruce. Bruce, welcome to the podcast, mate.
All right.
How you doing?
Yeah, not bad at all. Pretty cool.
So explain to people how a man with a strong Scottish accent ends up from Fife in Cornwall. How does that happen? In Penzance, like you can't get any further south unless you go to France.
Kind of deliberate. No, I mean, I spent a lot of time growing up in Scotland. Obviously, it was kind of tough. The areas that I grew up in weren't, it was nice. There were nice areas, but socially, a really hard area, really rough. The sort of traditional coal mining area with, I know a lot of people basically from my school ended up working in the dockyards at Rosyth or being mechanics and stuff like that. That was kind of the way things went. And yeah, I've done so much in the past, but my wife finally qualified as a vet after 14 years at uni, and we decided to move because I was working at a place called Martin Wishart's at the time. I'd been head chef for 5.5 years in Edinburgh, and I couldn't buy into his business. So, I was kind of thinking, well, I really want to progress and do something else then. And I'm great with Martin. He's an awesome guy, but it was time to make a change. It was that point in our lives where we could. So my wife did loads of different interviews and had options from Thurso to Barrow-in-Furness to Isle of Man, and then we just kind of picked, and it was a bit of a lottery one. I was like, well, I've heard good things about Cornwall. Should we try it? And we moved 13 years ago, and yeah, I love it. The community is amazing, and that's what I've built everything on. Really, is community.
So you literally went straight down there, and it was straight into a restaurant, or did you work for someone else first, or?
No, I took a little bit of time out. I did some temping. So I managed to sell the house up north just as the crash was happening originally. So, 13 years ago whenever everything was going a bit bottom up. And I managed to sell it at a reasonable price, reasonable profit. So we had a little bit of leeway to play with once I paid off all the debts of our uni course at Edinburgh Uni. And then, yeah, I took some time out getting to know the area and just driving around while I was temping, which was interesting. Good to see what's around. And then I ended up working in a pub for a few years, about 4.5 years, the Garner's Head pub. I got a good reputation. It was good fun. I think the Gastropub Guide, we ended up getting to number 5 in the UK. That was quite cool. But it really wasn't me. It was kind of a bit odd. So I did other bits and pieces. I ended up running a small place in Porthleven, which was then bought out by Rick Stein. So I ended up being his head chef. And that was the catalyst really for wanting to do this, because whilst I enjoyed, there was good learning opportunity there. And it's a great company, really well structured, but it didn't fit my personality. And they knew that straight off the bat. They kind of said, this probably won't be for you, but we really want you to try and stick it out for a bit. And they were lovely, but it was always going to be the case that I wanted to do my own thing and have autonomy. And not certainly, if I was focused on financial, I should have stayed there, because I was earning a hell of a lot more than I'm earning here, about 5 times as much. But, this is a labour of love in the true sense. It is, I do it for love. I don't do it for money, because this ain't making money, but it's something I can be proud of because it's just honest. It's true to what I believe in. And that's, principles get in the way of making money, but they make me happy.
I was chatting to someone earlier, and he's worked in many big hotel groups. And he was saying, like, you have to have a meeting after a meeting. You have to sit down and discuss this, and then do taste tests, and then have this, and then have that. And he goes, and now he's opening his own restaurant. And he's opening in Scotland, actually.
Oh, nice.
In the Hebrides. and he was saying, like, now he can just go to the market or go to see a fisherman or an oysterman and say, look, I just want this, and walk back with it or get it delivered. None of this, I've got a meeting and this and that. And for some people, whether it didn't suit them or does suit them or just doesn't anymore, once that switch is clicked, that's it. It's sort of like, I'm going to do my own thing now.
I couldn't go back. Yeah, I mean...
You don't think you could work for anybody again, or?
Yeah, probably not. I don't think anyone could work with me. I think, I found what I love about food. I have a really strong sense that the way our industry has gone is just so not for me. This pure commercialism, it doesn't fit my ethics and what I feel about food. And what I feel about food is when we hit lockdown, it was a great time to switch it to what I really wanted to do, because we were forced into smaller numbers. And in a restaurant this size with limited capacity, the choice was either, because of the space, you couldn't stagger bookings because it would have felt empty. So it was a choice of doing what I do or doing multiple sittings. And multiple sittings don't sit right with me because, this is expensive for the area, not for what you get, but it's expensive for the area in the local socioeconomic environment. So, if I'm going to be true to that as well, I couldn't justify telling people they need to get out their seats because I need it back to resell the table. It doesn't fit right with me. After hindsight, it was the right move, because I'm trying to, at one point, get a better lifestyle for myself. I don't want to work 16 hours a day. I just, it's only 5 days a week, but I want to see my family. I want to see my young kids. They're aged 4 to 10, and I've missed so much. And it turns out they're quite nice people as well. so I want to, I want to engage. I want to see family. And for me, working all your life just to fulfill an ego trip just feels wrong. And that's what I feel about chefs a lot. And not in a negative way, just because that's what it is. There's too much machismo, or what you call it. And I just, I've got a love of food for what food is, not for some false concept. I love people who do stuff that's amazingly well, focused. But I think food for me is about connection. It's about, when I was cooking for my family in lockdown, it gave me something that I just don't get in a restaurant. I haven't had in a restaurant for a long time. That connection, that sort of really cooking for people rather than cooking for the hot lights and a waitress takes it away and then it's gone, or cooking for a guidebook. Because what are you doing when you do it for these things? So I cook now with a bit, what I think of about purity and just fun on any given day. It's all based about what I can get hold of from the fish market or from the small growers that I use locally, veg-wise, or from my garden. And that's what I build my menu around. Keep it simple. I don't fluff it with anything. I've been there, I've done it. I've slogged for 30 years. But now this is about having fun and really enjoying food for what it is.